right, I'm live. Super excited about this recipe tonight. One reason that I'm really excited about this recipe is I've never made it, so I'm trialing this out live and in front of all of you. And it's Thursday. I get excited on Thursdays because the clinic that I work in, our lifestyle medicine clinic, isn't open on Friday. So I don't work on Fridays unless I have private coaching clients that I'm seeing, and I don't have any scheduled for tomorrow, so yay! Anyways, enough about me. Tonight we are making stir-fried tempeh with orange sauce. So I really like this recipes for a few reasons. And this recipe is from America's Test Kitchen, Complete Plant Based Cookbook. I put the link to this cookbook in the description of this post, and then I also linked to it in a different post that I did earlier announcing this live cooking show. Oh my gosh, Adam's not here tonight to help me, so I really hope that the cats don't knock over the camera. If it gets knocked over, I'll pick it right back up. So we're doing stir-fried tempeh in an orange sauce. And I like this recipe for a few reasons. First, the orange sauce doesn't call for sugar. And you'll notice that in a lot of Asian recipes, the sauces have sugar. Either sugar or maple syrup. And you'll see me cooking with maple syrup from time to time. But instead of sugar or syrup, this one uses fresh squeezed orange juice. So we're going to use our juicer tonight and squeeze some orange juice. So this is going to be really good. I'm just going to get right into it. So the first thing I'm making is the rice. I'm going to do ginger sesame brown rice in the Instapot. So this is going to take longer than cooking the stir fry actually will. I'm just kind of making this rice recipe up as I go. It's going to turn out good. I don't know how it couldn't. So what I'm doing is 2 cups of brown rice, 2 cups of water. I grated some ginger with that microplane that I use. I grated some ginger, and then I'm going to do a teaspoon of sesame oil. So we'll put I've got the water measured out. We'll put that in here. I've got the ginger already grated, so you didn't have to sit and watch me grate ginger, but grating the ginger took me about 1 minute. So I didn't spend a lot of time doing that. And then I have a jar of toasted sesame oil. So I'm just going to put about a teaspoon in there. There we go. There's a teaspoon. And then now I'm going to put this in the Instant Pot for 20 minutes on high pressure. So I'm just going to quick put that in there, and then we're going to make this stir fry. You're going to seal it. Press pressure cook. And then 20 minutes I'm going to do. All right, so, oh my gosh. The rice is in the Instant Pot. I'm going to let that naturally release for about 5-10 minutes when it's done. So the great thing with doing rice this way is you can make a whole bunch, and when you make it flavorful like that, adding some sesame oil, ginger, whatever you want to the rice, it's going to give it more flavor. Today I was coaching one of our new patients at Lifestyle Medicine, and they said, I'm having a really hard time getting used to these grains because they have no flavor. So we talked about different ways to add flavor to grains to make it taste better. So you can make a whole bunch at once and then put it in the freezer. So then during the week you could just pull some of the rice out of the freezer. You see rice in the freezer section at grocery stores all the time now. You can just pull some rice out, saute some veggies, and you wouldn't have to do a whole lot to the veggies because your rice has so much flavor. So that's a tip for you today. All right, so with the stir fry, what we're gonna do is make the sauce first. And I know not all of you have this cookbook, so you might not be able to look along, but I put all of the ingredients and the amount of the ingredients in the description of this post. So it's all there. I don't know if I should do that with the cookbook, but I did it so you could all have the recipe. All right, so I'm just gonna put the orange in the juicer, squeeze it, and what we want is about 3/4 cup of orange juice. And this is gonna give this sauce such a good flavor. You could buy orange juice in the store, but then you're just gonna have a lot of added sugars to it. It's so hard to find an orange juice that doesn't have added sugar. So this is super simple. And all of the produce I'm using today came from Misfits Market. So I've heard that some of you have started trying out Misfits Market. So that's super exciting to hear. It's such a great way to get cheap organic produce. I add things on some weeks, and that produce for sure lasts me 2 weeks. I never have to like go restock, and I never spend more than $45 on 2 weeks worth of organic produce. All right, so I'm just gonna do this other one. Whoop. All right, so we've got about 3/4 of a cup, or yeah, 3/4 of a cup. The recipe says to do 2 oranges. All right, so the next thing I'm going to do is add in mirin. So you'll notice that the recipe, if you look what I put in there, it says dry sherry. I don't have any dry cooking sherry. I don't have any cooking wine in the house right now. Mirin, M-I-R-I-N, is a Japanese cooking wine, and you can find this in any grocery store in the Asian section. And the whole bottle, so this is 10 ounces. It is 8% alcohol. They don't sell it in the alcohol section of the grocery store. They sell it just in the regular grocery store aisle. So I already had the 1/4 cup of water. I'm just adding the mirin to that. There we go. The next step is 2 tablespoons of soy sauce. And I'm thinking that this cooking demonstration here will not last. It won't last more than a half hour. I'll for sure be done probably in about 20 minutes. So it's a great weeknight one. All right, next is a tablespoon of cornstarch. And the cornstarch is gonna help the sauce get nice and thick. I don't buy any special brand of cornstarch. I just get what's ever cheapest at the grocery store. And I'm in my workout clothes because when I get done doing this, I'm gonna work out before I cook, or before I eat. Next step is a tablespoon of fresh grated ginger. So I already grated the ginger for this too, so you wouldn't have to watch me grate the ginger. Then we're gonna do 3 cloves of garlic. So I'll quick chop these up. Oh my gosh, you guys, if you would see the craziness that's going on in my kitchen right now with these cats. I really hope they don't knock over the camera. So one thing that I've been working on this week with some patients is how to start incorporating more plant-based meals to your routine. It can seem really overwhelming at first. You know, people are like, oh my gosh, I don't know that I can make all of these changes at once. Like, how do I just completely transform the way that I eat? So one thing that we've been talking about is taking small steps towards adding in more healthy recipes. And one way that seems to work really well for people is to start with breakfast. Breakfast is already a meal that you're used to having more plant-based recipes. You're used to having things like oatmeal or potatoes with veggies for breakfast. See, that was the cat. I'm just gonna roll with it because it still works. Oh my gosh, you guys. So start with breakfast. You're already used to having more vegetables with breakfast and more whole grains with breakfast. So that's a really easy place to start. So just get comfortable with your breakfasts, and then from there you can add in more recipes. Some people like to start with lunch after that. What some people like to do is go from breakfast to dinner, so then they can use their dinner for leftovers. This is driving me nuts. I'm just gonna come around the table quick and straighten it out. All right. All right, pattern interrupt. We're making it work. Okay, now I'm gonna put some sesame oil in here. But start with breakfast, and then you can, either start making some lunches, or go to dinner, and then you can use those dinners for leftovers for lunch. And that's a really easy way to start integrating more plant-based healthy recipes into your routine. Okay, and one thing I forgot with orange is that we're gonna do some zest. So I'm just gonna quick zest. It just says 1/4 of a teaspoon, so we don't need to put a whole lot in here. I kind of hope that the cat gets burned. It's so mean to say. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I said that out loud. But just so he calms down. Oh my gosh, he gets so jealous when I'm doing things up here and I haven't invited him. All right, so that's all done. I've got one of these fancy automatic whiskers. You can maybe see that when I turn it on, it moves. So I'm just gonna use this to quick mix this up. Haha. Sprayed the cat. All right, so it's all mixed up. I'm just gonna set this over here. So the first thing that we're doing is we're going to cook the tempeh. So guess what? I had an experience that a lot of people have. I went to the grocery store and they didn't have any tempeh. What they had was flavored tempeh. So they had tempeh bacon, smoky tempeh, and buffalo tempeh. But that's not gonna work for what I'm making today. So I had to ditch the tempeh, which is really too bad. But they had baked tofu, a ginger sesame baked tofu. So that's what I'm gonna do instead. You'll see that a lot of grocery stores now have baked tofu, so then it's already more firm. The one thing with the tempeh is that the tempeh it's firmer, it's more dense, so it's just gonna add a different texture to this recipe than tofu does. But you can't always control what's at the grocery store, so you have to make adjustments. So I'm just gonna slice up this tofu. And the difference is so tempeh is a fermented soybean, and tofu is made out of soybeans as well. Tempeh would just be a less processed form of soy than tofu is. Both of them are perfectly fine and perfectly healthy. That's just really what the difference is. If you see tempeh, you'll see like it looks more like a bean, so it's just gonna be a little bit more meaty. All right, so what I'm gonna do is just put a little bit of water in here. And then it says to cook the tempeh tofu in soy sauce. The recipe calls for vegetable oil. I don't really want to cook in vegetable oil today. I hate when I have really oily Chinese food. So I'm just gonna do water into soy sauce. You can do whatever you want though. All right, so it says cook this for 4 to 6 minutes. So we're gonna cook this for 4 to 6 minutes, then we're gonna put the vegetables in there. We're gonna cook the vegetables for 4 minutes, and then it's done. Stir fry is so quick, so I'm gonna be done in about 10 minutes. And then I'll just wait until the rice is done in the Instapot, and then I've got a meal. Yay. So what I'm gonna do, so the vegetables that go in this dish are broccoli, bell pepper, and scallions. So I'm just gonna kind of chop up my broccoli a little bit and get some of the stems off. This is still broccoli that I got 2 weeks ago from Misfits Market. I talk about them a lot, you can tell, but I really like getting my produce from there. And you'll notice that I talk sometimes about not cooking with oil, and that's totally a personal choice. So at our clinic, our dietitians host a class called Eat More, Weigh Less. And it's all about how to add more nutrient-dense meals to your routine and have less calorically dense meals in your routine. So it's really fun to hear what people take away from that class when they attend it. And one of the things they teach in there is about oil. And they're not saying you have to be oil-free, but they're letting people know that oil is the most calorically dense food there is. So if you're somebody who's really struggling with weight loss and you have some really lofty weight loss goals, that's an easy place to try to trim out some of the extra calories that you have in your routine. So the next thing, I've got the broccoli ready. It calls for red bell pepper. I've only got a tiny bit of red bell pepper left. It's left over from when I did the cauliflower nachos this week. But I've got a green bell pepper too, and I didn't want to buy another bell pepper when I've already got one. So I'm going to use the green. And having a whole red bell pepper, I will say, is just going to really offset the green, and it's really going to pop and make the dish look really pretty. But I like to save money in the kitchen, so I didn't want to buy a red bell pepper when I already have a green, just so my food looks more pretty, because I already know it's pretty. All right, so the recipe says to cut the broccoli or the bell pepper into 1/4-inch slices. So that's what we're gonna do. Quarter-inch slices. One other way to start adding in more veggies and produce to your routine is to start finding a vegetable or a fruit that you've never had before when you go to the grocery store. So this is what some of my patients do too, is every time they go to the grocery store, they pick one thing they've never had before. And not that they have to like go and get like a whole pound of that one thing, but they pick one and they try it. And it's a fun way to learn how to cook with new vegetables. All right. So just gonna let that cook for about 2 more minutes. And then I'm gonna take and add in the veggies. It says to remove the tempeh from the pan and then add in the vegetables. So I've got the broccoli and the bell pepper. And you know me, I always like to find ways to sneak in more greens to my recipes. So I'm gonna do that today. I've got some baby bok choy that I need to use. I've got 4 heads of it. I'm not gonna put 4 heads in this recipe. I'm just gonna do 2. The recipe doesn't call for it, but I want it, so I'm gonna add it to it. So with bok choy, a really great way to cook it is to slice it down the middle and then cut up from it. The stem is going to take longer to cook than the greens will. So it would be best to throw the stems in first and just let them cook for a minute or two, like 2 minutes, and then throw in the greens. So that's what I'm going to do. These veggies are going to cook for 4 minutes. I'm going to add the stems in, let it cook for 2, and then add in the greens. All right, I'm just going to cut off the very end that I don't need. Slice it. All right, I'm gonna grab the other one, and yeah, I'm gonna make ramen with the other 2. I love ramen. I just love soup, and if you can get a brothy soup that just has a really rich and complex flavor profile, that's my jam. I had my second COVID vaccine last week, and I felt awful the next day. And so I had pho, which is a Vietnamese soup, and it was just perfect for the way I was feeling. Okay, so I'm going to put the tofu here. And it's already been, I bought baked tofu, so it's already nice and crispy. All right, I'm just gonna set this aside. And then the recipe says, add the remaining vegetables, the broccoli, stir occasionally. So I'm just gonna add in a little bit more water to the pan. And there's some soy sauce kind of cooked to the bottom, so that'll give this some yummy flavor too. And just add in all of these delicious veggies. And we're gonna let these cook for 2 minutes. And then I'm gonna add in the greens from the bok choy. 2 more minutes. Then I'm gonna put in the tofu, put in the delicious sauce, cook it all together, and we're done. Such a fast dinner. The rice has 12 minutes left. So, yay. I love quick weeknight meals. And then I'll be doing a live on Sunday as well. I'll be providing recipes for what I'm gonna make. Sunday is Valentine's Day, so I'm gonna make a Caesar salad. I'm gonna show you how I like to massage kale, how I like to massage the greens. I'm not sure what I'm going to do for the main. I'm still kind of thinking about it. But then for dessert, I'm gonna make a nice cream. And for those of you who have opted in for my newsletter, I sent you the recipe for that yesterday. But my nice cream is banana based, and that might sound kind of like, what, banana ice cream? It's so good because a frozen banana has the consistency of ice cream, but without the dairy and without all the calories. So it works out really well, and you can flavor it, and it takes on whatever flavor that you want it to. That banana will be whatever you want it to be. So one of my favorite ways to do it is, my family grew up eating ice cream after every single meal. So, or not every single meal, but after dinner every single night. So one of my favorite ice creams was always Ben & Jerry's Cherry Garcia. So I'm gonna show you a healthy plant-based way to make Cherry Garcia. And so it can just be like a single serving thing, but if you want to make a really big batch, you can. So what some people will do is just have like little reusable pint-sized things that you can put in your freezer. All right, so this is good. Everything's getting soft. The broccoli is now, it's not that bright green, it's kind of turning into a dark green. So I'm gonna add the greens from the bok choy. So the sauce to veggie ratio won't be the same as what the cookbook actually called for, but that's fine. I find that a lot of times cookbook recipes have a lot of sauce, but this is a good one. It's a healthy, yummy sauce. All right, so then I'm gonna stir in the tofu and the sauce, and we're done. All right, so I'm gonna get the tofu back in here. And with a recipe like this, if there's certain veggies you really like in a stir fry, go for it. Feel free to add. I think the real magic in this recipe is the sauce, and then the tempeh, because it really does have such like a firm, dense consistency. It works so well. But hey, if the grocery store doesn't have what you want, you gotta improvise and roll with it, and that's all good. All right, so I'm gonna put the sauce in here. Give it a stir. And so it says just to let the sauce cook for 30 seconds, and it's done. So I wish you could smell this, because on my end, what I am smelling is orange and ginger, and that is just divine. Those are some wonderful flavors to be smelling. So with this America's Test Kitchen cookbook, I'm sorry, I still haven't figured out how to do the flip thing so you can read it, but it's an America's Test Kitchen Complete Plant Based Cookbook. You guys, this is like the Bible of plant-based cookbooks. I have the link for it in the description of this live. There are over 500 recipes in here, so it can maybe feel a little bit intimidating, but going forward in some of these cooking shows that I'm doing, I will be cooking recipes out of this cookbook. I have a lot of my own recipes that I've created that are on my blog, so I'm totally going to continue to do those. But some nights I want to try something new, so I'm going to let you know when I'm trying new things. And then I can try something new and cook in front of you. All right. So here we go. There it is. Look at how beautiful and colorful it is. So we've got broccoli, bok choy stems, bok choy greens, tofu, and bell peppers. Oh, and one more thing. Supposed to sprinkle it with green onions. I was just sitting there babbling. So I'm just gonna quick chop these up and put them on top. All right. Sprinkle that with green onions. There we go. Dinner is done. So don't worry that I don't have a link to the recipe. I wrote the recipe in the description of this video. So all you do is you make the sauce, cook your tempeh or your tofu in a little bit of soy sauce. Once that's browned, like 6 minutes, remove that from the pan, add in the vegetables, let those cook for about 4 minutes, put the tempeh back in, put the sauce in, voila, you're done. So that wasn't even a half hour. I hope you all have a wonderful night, and I will see you on Sunday, on Valentine's Day, for another cooking show. Bye.